Hi, today I want to show you how to add smooth animations and transitions to your Wized and Webflow web application without having to use custom code, without having to use CSS code, and without having to use Wized Cloak. And the cool thing is we're going to start from zero. We're going even to go step by step how I build an example endpoint, just how to test this whole thing. So this is a full beginner course on making smooth experiences in your Wized web application. We're going to go from zero to hero, and we're going to do everything step by step. And the cool thing is, because Wized gives you a lot of power, but most of the time it doesn't look that nice. Things just are just there. If text gets set, you may have some content flashing. And, even if you use Wized Cloak, those things are very abrupt and you cannot really customize in a no-code way how those things transition in or fade in. So I want to make this whole video today to show you how you can do exactly that without having to write any code. So let's get right started. So, first of all, the first step is we need to connect our Webflow project with our Wized project. But before that, let me just walk you through the setup I have in Webflow here. It is very simple. I'm just going to have like a paragraph in here where we're going to add the classes on our together. And I just have a div block in here, just a normal div block that will have like a close button in here that will have like an icon in it as an HTML embed that is absolute. So, we have like a close button for that modal. And then we just have text in here. That is all we need to do. This is all the things that I prepared for this video, just so that we can get this done within an hour and you don't have to watch me like 30 minutes building this in Webflow. But this is it. Super simple. And, let's just make sure that we publish this. And now let's actually connect this with Wized so we can start building exciting stuff. So let's just open the site. Okay. And let's copy this real quick. Boom. So now we go to Wized, and I'm going to leave this project and I'm going to create a new project in Wized. And I have to paste my Webflow staging domain in here. Just like that. Boom, it already scraped the name, pretty cool. And now I have this embed section. So I'm going to click on copy, and I'm going to go to Webflow. And yeah, now you're supposed to add this on the site settings, but you can also add this in the header if you don't want to pay Webflow to add custom code. So we're going to go to the site settings and add that in here and publish this. But I also want to let you know that if you go back to the designer, just like this, you can also add this code if you don't want to pay the $20 to add this in the site code. You can also just go in the home section in here, and you have to do this on every of your pages, and you just add that in here for every page that will contain this. It will work one-to-one the same. The only downside is, you have to edit manually on every page, but this is like 1 minute more of work, and it saves you $20 a month, which is something. So let's go to Wized and let's see if it successfully recognized the script. It's generating, and boom, now we have this in Wized. Now, if we go on X-ray mode, we see there are no attributes yet, because we don't have anything yet recognizable for Wized. And what I want to do here is I want to have two examples here. I want to have an API endpoint sending me text. So we can have an animation example for sending text. And I want to have an endpoint that sends me a photo so I can show you how to set photos beautifully without content flashing, without any issues for that. So let me show you how to do this. So let's go to Webflow, and let's just add Wized attributes. Let's start with the paragraph, right? With the content animations. So I'm going to go on this paragraph. I'm going to go to settings. I will see this custom attribute section, and I will click on custom attribute. I'm going to type in Wized, and the value will be the name how I want to call this in Wized. Let's say content text example. I'm going to click on publish, and now this element will be recognizable in Wized for me. So if I go on X-ray, we now see that this element will be available for me. So now I need an endpoint, an API, a data source sending me the data to Wized. Now, I could have just built this before the video, but I want to actually build this little endpoint in the video because people always ask me, where does this thing come from? So I like now to do everything that I do in this one video so you can also understand the deeper meaning and maybe where more of your attention could go into or what to consider on all of the aspects of the web application that you're building, not just Wized. So, let's get really quick to Xano, and I'm going to go to the API section, and I'm going to create a new group. Let's call this animations, just like that. Let's create a new endpoint in that group by clicking on Add API Endpoint. And now let's go to Custom Endpoint, and let's call this example. Again, this is just a super simple placeholder endpoint, and I want to have two inputs. So I want to have input as an enum, like as a drop-down that will say text or image. When I say text, it will return me text. If I say image, it will return me an image link. So let's go on plus here, and let's click on enum. This is under other. So I will do type, and we do text, image, just like that. Let's click on save, and we have that in here. And now I'm going to go to my function stack, and we want a condition, right? So let's go to conditional, and I want to look for, if I want to edit the conditional, I have to click on this little pen icon, and I'm going to go on type equals text. Right? So when the type is text, I want to create a variable, let's call this x1, with some text. So ChatGPT already helped me with some random text about the meaning of life. And let's go back to Xano. Let's put this in here as the value, just like that. Now, when I add text in here, I will return this text. When I add image in here, I'm getting nothing because we don't have a variable with the image link. So let me copy this existing variable in here and make sure it has both the same return name. So we can just base, the cool thing is if both of those instances here have the same return name, when I just return x1, if this condition is met, I will return this state, and if this condition is met, I will return this state. So let's go to my database, and let's copy this image link for an AI-generated horse. And let's go to the else, because if it is not an image in here, if it is not a text, it will be an image, because this condition is looking, is the type text. If it is text, let's return the text. And if it is not text, so meaning else, let's return the image link. So now when I save this and say image, I'm going to get the image link. And when I'm going to type in text, I'm going to get text. And then when I'm going to type in image, oh, that will not work. I'm going to type in image, it will give me the image. That is good enough. And that will make it more flexible for us to test with that. Now, if you're just a beginner, just learning, I would highly recommend you rebuild an endpoint like this and, build useless applications in Wized, build things that don't make any sense but are here to help you learn. Those little projects like I do in the videos, they are very valuable, very cool to learn new stuff and to stretch the boundaries of what you think you can do with Wized. Super cool. So let's go one step back and let's copy base URL. So now I want to connect this API that I just built in Xano or any other tool with Wized. So I'm going to copy base URL. I'm going to go to Wized, and I'm going to go to the top section here called My Apps. And I'm going to click on the plus, and let's add Xano, and let's call this Xano Animations. Just like that. So, Xano Animations, and Xano will be a REST API. A REST API is where every API will be probably a REST API. If you're not using Supabase, if you're not using MemberStack, not using Firebase, it will be a REST API. This is the protocol that all other APIs are using. So let's go to base URL and let's write return, because we have to write a return statement in Wized because it uses JavaScript to in their code editor. So we have to put this in quotes, and I'm going to put this link in here. You see, now we get the normal text, and we don't have any return in here because this is needed for JavaScript to set this as the text in here. So here we go. Now I just have the whole group. I just have the whole folder basically with all my API endpoints added. So now I need to add the individual API endpoint. And I'm going to do that using the requests. I'm going to click on plus, and let's call this example. And let's go on app. This will be Xano. And now it asks me for the URL endpoint. So now I'm going to my example, and I'm copying this up here. Don't add the whole URL in here because it already pulls half of the string of your link from the URL that you have entered in here. And so you only need to add the extension. So I'm going to write return quotes, and I'm going to add the extension in here, just like that. And this will be a get, and I don't need to send any data to that API. So now when I run this, oh, actually I do need to send data. I need to send a URL parameter of type because we have the enum of the input for type in here. So I need to do type, and let's start with text. So return text, just like that. So now when I run this, I will be getting the text. And this is what we want to do here. So let's go on this item in here. So go X-ray mode, and then we're going to click on here, and we're going to add, excuse me, we're going to add a set text action. And we just keep it as plain text. I'm going to write return. And now I'm going to go to the data that I got from my example request, and I'm going to just click on the item that is the text that I want to set, just like that. And now you see I have the text in here. Now, as you can see, that text is set. But I don't see the text. I first have to run the request, and then I will see the text. So now we just need to add an action in here, another one, that will perform this request on page load. So let's add perform request on page load, just like that. And I'm going to do an event-based action because the page load is an event, just like that. And I'm going to do the trigger, page starts loading, and I'm going to go to perform request and my example request. Now, when the page loads, we get the text set. But this is what I was talking about. We have this content flashing in here. That is not that nice. You see, it flashes around. And now, since we got this set up, we're going to add our animations, the core of this video, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Because this is the issue that we're facing. It is working great, but it's not looking too great. So what I like to do is, I like to just generally not add any placeholder text in here. What I like to do is, I don't like to add any placeholder text. Personal preferences. But when you add any Latin placeholder text or something like this, when the user opens your page, you're going to get something like this, like translate this page to English, even though that Wized changed the text to be English, because the HTML that Webflow will be serving to your browser has some Latin random text, and some browsers pick that up and think you're on a foreign website. So I don't like to send any rubbish data to the browser. So what I like to do is I like to go on return shift, just like that, and then let's go a few lines down, and then let's do return space, and I'm just going to create like a little block here with some empty spacing in here. And this is only so that I can see it in the Webflow editor, and you're going to see what I mean with that. Okay, let's move it that way. Okay, so now as you can see, when I hover over here, you see I have that text field where if I would not have that in here, it would just disappear. So this is why I like to add some empty space in here. So now we're just not sending any Latin text. And I can do the same thing with the other one. And now when I open the other one, I will not be getting this thing in my browser. We did not know that you speak Latin. So you need to adjust it a little bit, but you get the idea. Beautiful. So let's publish this. And now when you go on the site, since you don't have any Latin placeholder text, your browser is not getting confused, thinking that we're back in the 15th century or whenever that was popular. So let's wait till this publishes. And Webflow is taking a little bit time today. Let's see. Okay. Now if I go on here, you see there is no message saying, we didn't know you speak Latin. And the content flashing is a little bit better. But it still is not that nice, right? It doesn't fade in. It's just coming. So this is what we're going to fix in this video. So what I like to do here, I have my paragraph. And let's just add a class. Let's just call this paragraph. Oh, paragraph. And then I want to add, just so that you can see that, I want to add, let's actually add, let's just add some text in here so we can see it for the animation. I want to add a combo class on here of hidden, just like that. And I'm going to make the opacity at 0. So now, when I have this as hidden, and the opacity is 0, and I remove hidden, the content will show. And this is not super special, right? This will not make any nice animations. But when I go scroll all the way down on style in Webflow and go to effects, and I'm going to go to transitions, and let's do all properties, and let's do like 450 milliseconds. Now, when I remove this class, we're going to have this text fade in. And this is the nice thing that we want to do here. So let's remove this text here. And let's start with the hidden class. So, the text is hidden. And we will be removing this class and therefore causing the transition animation with a specific Wized action. So right now we see there is no text because it is hidden. There is text in here, but opacity is 0. So let's go on X-ray. Let's go on this element. And let's, under the set text action, let's add a set class action. So let's go to add, and let's go to set class. We're going to target our combo class of hidden, and I'm going to write a little function. I'm going to write return, and I want this returned if the example request was not successful. So what will happen is this will be false. And if this is false, the hidden class is not added to the element and we see the content. So sometimes we have to think a little bit about how we do those formulas. Because if this, and I can see beginners do that mistake, if you say, oh, I want this hidden if it is 200, then it will add the hidden class on the 200, even though that the hidden class is already originally added. So if you would do something like hidden, and I wanted hidden 200, it will remove the hidden class and add it again. So we want to reverse that we want to say Wized. We only need the hidden class added when the request was not successful, because then we haven't received the content yet. And we want it faded out so that when we receive the content, we can remove the class and have this fade in animation. Now, why is that? Because what we want to think about is we want to make sure that, when the user opens the page, Webflow is faster than Wized. So when the user opens the page, the combo class is on here. But then once JavaScript, aka Wized, gets initialized and the condition is not being met or is being met, Wized would remove that class. So we want, when Wized gets initialized, for Wized to come to the conclusion that the class should be on there, for it to not remove the class that initially was added in Webflow. A little bit confusing, I know, but think about like this. I'm going to go to this page and let's look at the request. While this page is loading, just like that, and it's very fast. So let's go back to Xano here and let's add a sleeper function in here so I have some time to explain this to you. The sleeper function will just, add a pause for 10 seconds. Let's do this. Let's add it. Yeah, under here is good. And let's publish this because I need some time. So when we run this request, right, and while it is now loading, the status will be null. So now it will be hidden, right? There is no content because that condition is not being met. And when the request comes and is 200, it will then fade in. Let's look at the logic here, what happens when we load this. So now the request is loading, and if I look in this condition to be hidden is true. So therefore, the hidden class is added on the element. Now, this was successful. So now this condition is false. And now, because this is false, we're going to look set class hidden. Is this condition is false? And if this is false, the hidden class will not be on the element anymore, and then we will see the text. And in the transition of doing that, we're going to generate something that will look like a nice animation where the text is fading in, just like that. So as you can see, the text nicely was fading in. So this is cool. Now, we can also do something with placeholders, for example. So for images, we need to do those things. So let's get rid of the paragraph here, and let's get rid of, I still need that action, but let's get rid of this action here in Wized. And let's do this with an image, because images are fun. With images, I need to add a div block. This will be the base. And then I need to add the image. So let's take the image here. And I want the div block, let's call this image holder, to, I wanted to show an overlay until the image is loading. And you can animate that later on with a little bit of custom code. But that should be like a fixed height or width. So I can do like 20 rem, for example, and a height of 15 rem, or let's see, let's have the height be by the ratio. So let's do widescreen, just like that. And then the image, we want to have this 100% and 100%, just like that. And we can make the image to be the image here. That looks good. So we have the image, and then we have the image holder. The image holder will hold the image. And let's remove the image from the image holder quick. So I have the image holder here, and I can give it like a little background touch, just like that. So people see an image is supposed to be here. And let's give this rounded corners. And now let's add the image in here. Beautiful. So now when the image is hidden, people still see, oh, an image is supposed to be here, and it's loading. And here you go. So this is loading. And then you can go on image in here, and you add your hidden class, and in the hidden class we're going to remove the opacity, and now we're going to remove this, and now we're going to go to transitions, and let's add all properties. Let's do a little bit longer transition because images sometimes can take a little bit longer to be set. And now if I have the hidden class and remove the hidden class, we see the image fade in. So initial state will be the hidden class should be hidden. And now on the image, I need to add the Wized attribute so that we can set the image inside of the image data. And let's do image example, just like that. Now I'm going to publish this. And now we are going to go back to Wized. Let's reload the page. And we have our, our image placeholder. And now if I go to, image, I will create that action. But before that, I actually need to go to the request and change the text to image. So now when we run the request and we wait for 10 seconds, just, to make it a little bit easier, we are going to get our image link. And then we want to set the source. So let me show you how to do that real quick. But I also made a whole video on that, which is very helpful. So let's go to the image. Let's do the setting. Let's do set HTML attribute because we need to set the source. We're going to do src, that is the source. And we're going to write return in, not in quotes this time because it's dynamic value. And I'm going to go to my image link here, click on here, double check, we got the link, boom. So now I have my image link and the image is set. If I go to inspect elements, we see that this image should have the source set somewhere, but it is hidden right now. So I need to add, again, the set class action to remove the hidden class, just like that. So my condition will be, again, return the status does not equal 200 because I want to have the hidden class on the element when the request was not successful or was not successful yet. But once it was successful, like this, I want it to be false. And if this is false, this class will be removed from this element. And now we see the image. So we have some overflow. So let's go back to the image holder and let's make overflow hidden. And let's publish this again. And it should be looking way nicer. So let's go to Wized and let's reload. And now we see image. It's loading very nicely. And now, after some time, it will fade in, as you can see. Beautiful. And this was very smooth. So now let's actually just, hide the sleeper function to get a faster result here. And then you will see how this will look in real life. Now, we still, it fades in very nicely. I think that's very nice. If you sometimes have some image issues where it doesn't fade into nicely, just make the fade in duration longer because images sometimes are a bit heavier to be set on the page, but you can cover this up with animations. Let me give you an example. For example, in my image here in the transitions, I can go to ease. So I can make it like this that, I can make it a little bit like this where this will be a bit longer. And then at the end, it will fade in a little bit, like a bit faster, like where, the initial state will load longer and then it will be very fast fading in. Maybe a little bit more bounce. So I can cover those things up, by modulating the way the animation will work. So let's load this again. And as you can see, we have a little bit more of an offset. So the image has more time to be set. And then we have like a faster fade in animation, which I think is pretty nice. It makes the whole content way smoother and way more professional because you don't have any content flashing. And, but I found the best results for images are actually 1 second. So 1,000 milliseconds. If I'm going to click on publish, this will give you like 99% great results. Let's look at this together. I think it looks beautiful. Just like that. All the time it fades in beautifully. Just like that. Isn't that beautiful? And you have your images beautifully fade in Wized, and you have wonderful animations. Now, images are cool, but let's actually revert back to text and, let's make a modal work after a request finished, since we now understand the principle of this. So now let's get text. Let's, discard the image. Let's remove this. And, while we're on it, why don't just make a big modal? And now we have the modal animations. So this is super cool. For the modal, we can do exciting stuff with it. And let's just, get the text set in the modal. And then I can show you how we're going to make the modal animation super cool. So let's, on the text that we want to set in the modal in our paragraph here, let's add a Wized attribute. And let's call this modal text. Just like that. Let's publish this. And let's go to Wized and let's make this first of all work dynamically. So now I'm going to go to X-ray. I'm going to click on the modal text. I'm going to do set text, plain text. I'm writing return and I'm taking the text in here. Now we have the text set and we're going to get rid of the image action because we don't need that anymore. So now, when the page loads, this will get set. But now the thing is there is no modal animation going on. So what we want to do is we want to add a variable on here where people can also collapse the modal if they want to. So let's do variables. A variable is like a piece of data that you can add to your site that will store a specific state. Let's call this modal, and the initial value will be return closed. Just like that, return closed. Let's reload the page, and we see the initial state will be closed. And now we need to add an attribute on the modal itself so we can control the modal. So now I'm going to go to the modal, and I'm going to add a Wized attribute in the custom attribute section on the modal, and I'm going to add a value of modal. And now I'm going to add the modal, the combo class of hidden again, just like that. And when that modal is hidden, I'm going to go to 2D and 3D transformations or transforms, and I'm going to go to move, and I'll be moving this down. So let's do 100%. And let's actually do 200%. So now it will move up. And we will not see it moving up. It will just be like it's disappearing because we don't have a transition. So we're going to remove the combo class here, and we're going to go to transitions. Let's go all properties. Let's do 700 milliseconds. And now you will see that when I remove the hidden class, that modal will slide up. Beautiful. So now let's add the hidden class on default, so we have that modal hidden. And now let's go to Wized. Now we see the modal is hidden, and we have the state. So now let's go on X-ray mode. Oh, we can't see it in X-ray mode because the modal is hidden. So let's add the action manually. Let's go on plus, and let's call this modal, and let's do element-based action. Let's look for our modal, and let's do set class hidden, and the same thing. We want the hidden class be on there when it doesn't equal 200, right? But we don't want to have this directly in here. So we actually want to base this on a variable. But I just wanted to point out, we can do it like this, but then when the user clicks on here, there is no way how we can revise this logic that we write in here. We would then have to force it down, which is not best practices. So what I want to do is I want to do return. I want it hidden when the modal equals closed. So now it's closed and it should be closed. And we will base this on the variable. And now the variable that we have in here, we want to add like a little conditional statement in here. So let's do if open close brackets, and then let's remove the return in here. Return closed, just like that. So I want to write if r.example status doesn't equal 200, I want to return closed. Okay, let's reload this. And I should be doing that computed. And why is I have open close r.example? Interesting. Let's do else and let's see. Return hey. We're returning hey. Okay. Okay, because it is 200. Okay, I thought I was with my thoughts somewhere else. So yes, of course. So right now, since this was successful, so let's actually activate the sleeper function again, so it gives me a little bit of time to work with this, to play around with it. So now this is null, and now I'm going to return closed. So that modal is closed because it is loading. And now let's do open. And now when this request finishes and it is open, it will slide up and remove the class. Beautiful. Now, why are we doing it a little bit more complicated like this? Because then I can override this variable on click of this one to be closed. And then, I can do the process again, which is cool. So again, we have an if statement. If r.example.status doesn't equal 200, which it does, so it will not return closed, it will return the else, which is open. And let's reload this again. If this would be not 200, which it is not 200, we will return closed. And then this is closed right now, and let's reload, so it's closed. And if this is closed, v.modal equals closed, we have the hidden class on here. And as you can see, when the hidden class is on here, it is scrolled down, and when that hidden class is removed, it is scrolling up, and you can have this fade in or slide down or pop up or whatever. You can be as fancy with the animations as you want. So now this is the experience that we have so far. The moment the request is loading, nothing is happening, and the moment the request is being finished, we're going to have our modal slide up and show us the dynamic content, just like that. Now I cannot click it away. We can do this by overriding the attribute, the variable. So let's just really quick remove the hidden class, and let's go to our icon here that is the close icon. And let's add a Wized attribute. So let's go to the custom attribute sections. Let's add Wized, and let's add close modal. Just like that. Let's go back to the modal, and let's add the hidden class on here. Now let's publish to selected domains. And now let's reload. Let's wait till this loads so we can see the close button, because it's not that helpful right now to us. And now, after a few seconds, we're witnessing this beautiful slide up animation in Wized. I'm going to go to X-ray mode. I'm going to click on the close modal, and I want to do on event. I'm going to look for click, so on event click, and I'm going to perform an action to set variable. I'm going to take our v.modal variable, and I'm going to override it to return closed. Just like that. So now, as you can see, the variable in here is open, and when I click on here, it will equal closed and therefore collapse the modal. Just like that. So I have my modal in here. This request is processing. The moment this will be 200, with our condition in here, the moment this request is 200, we're going to have this variable equal open. And then in our action on the modal, if this variable is closed, we are going to add the hidden class. Meaning, if it is open, we're going to remove the hidden class. And as you can see in here, if the hidden class here, I have my modal, and if the hidden class is removed because it is 200, if the hidden class is removed because it is 200, we're going to have this slide up and be in viewpoint, just like that. So this is the whole experience that we're going for. And then the last step is, even though the variable is computed and there's code running all the time inside of the variable, Wized allows us to override it. So we have our button here that will be on event click, will set the v.modal variable, the one that we base the whole, animation of the modal on. We're going to on click set this to be closed. And then if this is closed, as you can see in our initial, if this is closed in here, equals closed, we will add the hidden class. And when we have this visible in here and add the hidden class, it will scroll down and therefore disappear. So now when I click on here, it will set this to closed, and therefore it will have the state going down. So now in practice, or in real life, I will not have the sleeper function. And here's how the experience looks on your site. The moment the request finishes, we're going to have this beautiful slide in, and I can remove it and collapse it anytime just using the classes. And I think introducing those beautiful animations inside of your Wized web application really makes it a web application. Before that, it was just a nice interactive website, and it was a little bit glitchy. But with those transitions and those classes, you can do amazing animations. You don't need to use Webflow animations. You don't need to use anything else that will, slow your page speed down. CSS is the most lightweight and fastest animation system that you can use to animate your things and make them interactive. You don't need to use GSAP, which will make your page slower. You can use CSS for like 90% of all the things that you want to animate on your site. And the cool thing is, you can do this without writing any code. And you have full control over, the way that animation behaves, just like that, in Webflow, inside of the transition section here on the effects. And you can do, I want this to be faster and slower, and you can update all of those things without writing any code, and you're just going to use the set the set class action in Wized to make those things work beautifully interactive. And one thing I want to mention is we want to add on the parent of this one, overflow hidden, so that it will actually slide in and we will not be able to scroll the page down. This is one thing I forgot. So now, while this is going, I cannot scroll down. It will just, scroll from within here, as you can see, which is beautiful. Check this out. We have beautiful animations inside of Wized. It doesn't need to be clunky. It doesn't need to be glitchy. It's supposed to be smooth. And building experiences like this really make your users happy, because it just all flows. It just all feels smooth, and it's a great user experience. And at the end of the day, it's all about user experience. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for, watching all my little beginner courses and all my videos. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate all of your support, your wonderful Discord messages, your comments, all your, your inspiration all around in the comments. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for following. And just thank you for everything, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.